For generations, the massive 1,700-kilometer stretch between India and Nepal hasn't really functioned like a normal international border. Locals share what's known as a roti-beti relationship, deep ties of food, trade, and marriage. People cross back and forth every day. You don't need a passport, you don't even need a visa. Towns like Birgunj in Nepal and Raxaul in India effectively operate as a single, frictionless market. Groceries, clothing, and medicine move constantly across the line, often loaded onto hand-pulled carts or bicycles. But that centuries-old rhythm of open, informal trade has just been brought to a sudden, chaotic halt by the government in Kathmandu. Geography and culture blurred this boundary for generations. Now, a strict administrative shock is actively tearing that shared reality apart. Today, routine crossing points look like this. Armed police force personnel stand shoulder to shoulder behind riot shields, strictly interrogating pedestrians and searching bags of daily shoppers. The friction comes from a sudden, aggressive enforcement of a previously ignored customs law regarding personal goods. This diagram illustrates how incredibly low the new threshold is. If a local crosses back into Nepal carrying basic goods valued over 100 Nepali rupees, roughly 63 Indian rupees, they are immediately hit with a formal customs duty. This means buying a single packet of sugar or a bag of salt requires a person to wait in a massive line, face questioning from police, and potentially have their household staples seized if they cannot pay the tax. By applying national-level trade tariffs to neighborhood grocery runs, authorities have turned a daily chore into a hard economic checkpoint. To understand why this is happening, we have to look at the view from the capital city of Kathmandu. The government is facing an urgent need to collect tax revenue. Because Nepal has a very small domestic tax base, the state relies heavily on import duties to fund itself. This chart visualizes Nepal's total trade footprint, showing that a massive 65% of all their commerce occurs directly with India. From the government's perspective, those daily, untaxed border crossings act like a leaking funnel. Millions of small, informal purchases walk across the border every single day, draining potential revenue from the central state pool. By forcing every small shopper to pay duties, the administration hopes to plug that leak. They want to eliminate smuggling and make Indian goods slightly more expensive, forcing citizens to buy from local Nepali industries instead. On a government spreadsheet, this aggressive tax strategy looks like a necessary step toward national self-reliance. But down on the pavement in the southern plains, the reality is devastating. For marginalized groups like the Madesi community, this policy is stripping away their livelihood and triggering widespread protests. Indian goods are routinely 20 to 45% cheaper than what is available in Nepal. With inflation squeezing household budgets, crossing the border to buy cheap rice and cooking oil is a basic survival strategy, not a luxury. This map highlights the immediate commercial freeze on the Indian side of the border. With Nepali shoppers blocked, trade hubs like Raxaul are losing an estimated 10 crore rupees every single day as commerce stops dead. Even formal Nepali traders are paralyzed. The system simply wasn't ready to handle this volume of inspections, leaving merchants waiting for days at understaffed, empty customs desks just to get basic quarantine clearances. The attempt to protect the national economy from the top down is actively starving the localized border economy from the bottom up. Nepal's push for formal economic independence exists in direct tension with its own geography. While the state seeks sovereignty, it remains physically bottlenecked by the Himalayas to the north, leaving the accessible plains of the south as its only viable lifeline for trade. This geography feeds a dangerous political narrative. Many in the plains view this tax as a hostile decision handed down by lawmakers in the hills, specifically designed to marginalize and punish the Madesi population. When families are pinned against barricades over a bag of groceries, the shared culture that has defined this region for centuries begins to fracture. At a 63 rupee limit, this policy functions as an undeclared blockade. It targets the very staples of survival, placing an impossible financial burden on those least able to afford it. A rigid tariff might balance a spreadsheet deficit in the capital. But when policies ignore the economic realities of people living on the pavement, it is the poorest citizens who pay the heaviest tax.